Hello everyone, welcome back to Speed. Still, if you have not subscribed, then do it quickly by pressing the subscribe button and support. And don't forget to check out my previous videos. Click on the I at the top. So let us begin. Energy and Environment, which is an elective subject in 6th semester of Mechanical Engineering course. So in this video, we are going to look at Module 1, which is Basic Introduction to Energy. So let us move on. Contents in this video: energy and power, forms of energy, world energy scenario under which we will be having production and consumption. Then key energy trends in India. So under this we will be having demand, electricity, access to modern energy, energy production and trade. Then factors affecting India's energy development. So under this we will be having economy and demographics, policy and institutional framework, energy prices and affordability, social and environmental aspects, investment. So if you go through this video completely, you will not I will guarantee you that you will not be needing any kind of materials. So as I have explained everything in detail in this video, so keep watching. So there may be only 4 marks question on energy and power. So what is energy? Energy is the capacity to work in various forms, and power is the rate at which the work is done. So energy is a capacity and power is rate at which an energy is consumed or given. So let us look at the comparison chart. So here we will be having energy on one side and the power on other side. So definition: energy is the capacity to do work. Energy is a power integrated over time. And then power is a rate at which work is done or energy is transmitted. So the unit for energy is joules, and the unit of power is joules per second. So the common symbols are given, W and P. So examples is also given here. So just look at the example. So I will give you a simple example that there are two men, one is a lean person and another one is a bodybuilder. Think that they are having some equal weights in front of them. So they are both capable of lifting the weight, but at the rate at which they are lifting the weight, so the lean person will lift it slowly and the bodybuilder will lift it quickly. So it means that they both have the energy, but lean person will be having lesser power, but the bodybuilder will be having more power, so he can lift the weight so quickly. So let us move to the next slide. Forms of energy. Here only the basic classification is done. So from this part also we can expect 4 marks question. So energy can be classified into different forms depending on their source of origin. So we have primary sources and secondary sources. So primary sources, these are the forms of energy that can be directly used as they are available in nature, like coal, oil, natural gas, wood. So we'll be taking the wood directly from the nature, then we'll be burning it to produce heat. The secondary sources, these are the forms of energy derived from the transformation of primary sources. So here we'll be considering crude oil. So from crude oil we'll be taking petrol. So crude oil is a primary source, petrol is a secondary source. Like we are having electricity generation from river. So flowing water will be having a mechanical energy, and this mechanical energy is converted into electricity. Same way solar energy is a primary source, then from that electricity is a secondary source. So just write the answer in general terms. From here the actual module starts. So from this after this part there will be questions asking for 8 marks or 10 marks. So let us start. What world energy scenario? So interest in the energy everywhere throughout the world is expanding progressively. Significant development in energy is anticipated in developing nations. Coal, oil, gas are the 3 noteworthy essential primary sources of energy. While coal reserves are probably last over 200 years and each oil and gas reserves are probably to last 45 to 65 years. Having rich sources of energy provides a huge support towards the growth of nation and the development of its citizens. So world energy scenario mainly depends on 2 factors: energy production and energy consumption. So here we can see that the power of any country can be represented with the source of energy that country having. So we can see that the Middle East countries have their high job availabilities, having their currencies very high, all due to this because they have the high rich sources of oil, which is one of the main sources of energy required all over the world. So here it is also given us all those sources, coal, oil are non-renewable. So here we can see that the coal will last only for 200 years and oil for the next 45 to 65 years. So whoever finds the best source of renewable sources of energy in the future will be the strongest nation in the upcoming future. So entire this world energy scenario can be explained by two parts. So what is the production capacity of energy in a country and how much energy that country is consuming. So if a country is producing more energy and it's consuming less energy, so that country can sell its energy to other countries and make revenue. So let us go to the next part. So energy production. The global energy production at the end of 2014 was equivalent to 14,000 million tons of oil equivalent. Coal accounted for 29%, oil 31%, natural gas 21%, and others 18%, like the other energy sources like nuclear power, hydro, biofuels, etc. So here we can see a pie chart that we can see that coal is accounting for 29%, oil 32%. So since oil is the producer of maximum energy, so all the energies are represented in terms of oil, so that is 14,000 million tons of oil equivalent. So all the energies are producing how much 14 million tons of oil can produce. So it's just a simple, just note down that. So here you can see that the percentage of the energy produced from different sources of energy. So you have to take a note of this graph. So and then you have to just expand and explain it in the exam. So here there may be a question of 6 or 8 marks. So in this slide we can see the different countries and the continents and the sources of energy which they are reaching. So we can see that the global coal production stood at 7,700 million tons of oil equivalent as on 2015. So global coal production fell by 4% when compared to historical data. China accounted for larger share with about 46%, other Asian countries about 17%, OECD, that is Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development countries about 25%. So here we can see that initially we can mainly note that the coal production fell by 4%. So because that the coal extraction and the quality of the coal is reducing, so this percentage of energy production is occupied by other sources like electricity or oil productions, crude oil. So here you can see that Africa produces 17%, OECD about 25%, Europe and Asia together 8%, China alone is producing 45% of the energy, whereas Asia is 17% and other countries are 1%. So let us look into the oil production. So global oil production stood at 4,300 million tons equivalent, that is MTOE should be, as on 2015. Global oil production increased rapidly 3.2%. Middle East countries accounted for about 32%, Europe and Asia together 16%, America about 9% compared to previous historical data. So here you can see that the oil production has been rapidly increased, whereas coal production has been rapidly decreased. So these are the points which we have to be noted. So while writing in exam, remembering these numbers may be difficult. So we have to note down the differences in the numbers. So we have to just see that China is producing more, and then comes Asian countries and then OECD. So we have to note down the differences, and number if there is any changes it's okay, because we are taking the data related to a very previous years like 2015 2014. And then when it comes to coal, we have to say that it's reduced by 4%, and then oil we have to say it is increased by 3%. And we have to note down that which countries produce more coal and less coal, and similarly which countries are producing more oil and less oil. So we have to note down these differences, and we have to write the same in the exam also, so we can score more marks. Other than coal and oil, the another important source of energy and the larger source of energy is natural gas. So global natural gas stood at 4,000 billion cubic meters as on 2015. Global production grew by 2.2% compared to historical data. OECD countries accounted for 37% share, while Europe and Asia 24%, and Asia alone at 9%. So just to take a look at the graph, remember the graph, which countries are producing more, then comes which country, and what is the country which least produces the energy. So other than these three major sources, there are other sources of energy like hydropower production, solar power production, and nuclear. So here we cannot make the difference because they are not the continuously available. Like maybe dams and solars are seasonals, biofuels differentiate from within the region also, so it can be produced anywhere. So similarly, we cannot make a regional data of these sources, but for the dams we can make, but still they are depending on the what we say rain or seasonal things. So we cannot make the particular data, and any country which has rivers can build dam, so it is not a rich source which is prehistoric. So that was all for the energy production. So let us move to the energy consumption. The developed countries attributed to high energy consumption as compared to developing countries. 80% of the world population lies in developing countries. The energy consumption amount is only 40% of the world's total energy consumption. People in industrial countries usually use 4 to 5 times more energy than the world average energy consumption, and 9 times more than the average of developing countries. Primary energy consumption is projected to increase at an average rate of 2.7 between 2011 and 2020. Global energy consumption was 9,425 million tons equivalent as in 2014, in which oil accounted for the larger share, that is 40%, electricity about 18%, natural gas 15%, coal about 11%. So here we can see that the countries which are said to be developed like USA are consuming a lots of energy, that is 80%. Whereas the developing countries like ours is consuming 40% of the energy. So we have to make note that energy consumption and energy wastage is different. So like if we just simply turn on the fan, all those electrical items, even when we are not there, it doesn't mean that we are consuming large amount of energy, so we'll become a developed country. No, it doesn't work like that. So energy which is consumed in the productive way will be accounted as a source or a reason for becoming a developed country. So energy consumption is, in other words, energy consumption for the productive work. So here we can see that the energy which we are consuming are provided in the form of 40% of oil, electricity, and comes in 18%, natural gas about 15%, coal 11%. Like oil which are using, which is mainly given to transportation, all those things, electricity for housing and buildings, natural gas for many electric production, all those things, and coal is for the heat generation and furnaces. So let us move on to the particulars of each source of energy. Global coal consumption fell by 1.8% compared to historical data. This was accounted by US by a decline of 12.7%, China 1.5%, India recorded an increase in coal dependence about 5%. So here you can say that the global consumption of coal has been fell 1.8% as the production of, so this resulted in the fail in production. So here you can see that the countries like US and China, here the coal consumption, energy consumption in the form of coal has been reduced, but India has recorded coal dependence with 5% increase. So oil, global oil consumption grew by 1.9 million barrels per day, that is, which is 2% compared to the historical data. So you can see that the fall in 1.8% of coal, here we can see that the oil has been raised by 2%. So we can simply say that oil has been replaced most of this work of coal. As compared to historical data, US accounted for increase in 1.6, China 6.5, India about 8.1%, with an exception of Japan, which has recorded a decline in 4%. So here you can see that Japan has reduced its dependence on oil sources, so which we can say that all the transmission or transportations has been replaced by electrical vehicles, so on. So they have stopped acquiring the energy in the form of oil. So next comes the natural gas. Global natural gas consumption grew by nearly 1.7%. Iran accounted for 6.2, China 4.7, US 3. Meanwhile, few countries recorded largest volumetric decline like Russia and Ukraine. So there may be different reasons for why they have stopped the natural gas production, which is depending on many factors, but still the natural gas is said to be one of the good source of energy. So the conclusion: developed countries are consuming more energy with ever increasing demand. Renewable sources will gain importance and energy system will become more complex rapidly. Energy efficiency is crucial in dealing with focus on requirement of solid ecological arrangement. So simply we have to make sure that we are producing more efficiently the more energy, and we have to make sure that we are consuming all the energy which is being produced without wasting any energy in any form. So the countries which are developing will always be in the urge for the energy, and the energy and new sources of renewable energies has to be found as the prehistorical energy sources like coal, oil are depleting day by day. So we have to go and do the research for the new forms of energy or renewable energies which are already available. We have to find the new ways to make them more useful for the society. Key energy trend in India. So this is also the one of the high marks carrying questions will be coming from this part. So what is key energy trends in India? Simply what's happening in the field of energy in India. So the various key energy trends in India include demand, electricity, access to modern energy, energy production and trade. Demand. India has been one of the main contributor towards the one of the main contributor towards the rising global energy demand since 2000. During this period, Indian energy demand doubled, pushing the country's share in the international demand up to 5.7% in 2013 from 4.4% in 2000. Expressed on per capita basis, energy demand in India increased by 46%, yet still remains one-third of the world average. So we can see that India's demand for the energy has been increased and it is also increasing now. So we can see that the per capita energy, so that is the energy consumption for each person in India, is also increasing, which means that the Indian persons are efficiently using the energy which is available to them. So we can see that what form of energy has demand for the what form of energy has been increased from 2000 to 2013. So that the energy demand for the coal has been increased from 31% to 44%, and then the energy demand for oil has been decreased 25 to 23, and then natural gas has been increased, and the energy demand of biomass in 2000 was 34% and now it's 24% in 2013, I mean. So all these datas are quite an old datas, but still in exam you can write these datas because we only need the difference, not the actual datas, because actual datas are always changing. Almost 3/4 of Indian energy demand is met by fossil fuels, a share that has increased since 2000 because of rapid rise in coal consumption. Coal now accounts for 44% of the primary energy mix. The availability and affordability of coal relative to other fossil fuels has been contributed to its rise, especially in the power sector. So when it comes for the companies to produce power, the coal is one of the easiest to get in touch and also one of the most affordable when compared to burning costly oils which has to be imported from other countries. So for that reason the consumption of the coal has been increased and it's now accounts for 44% of the energy sources in power sector. Oil consumption in 2014 stood at 3.8 million barrels per day, 40% of which used in transportation sector. Natural gas makes up a relatively small share in the energy mix. Hydropower, nuclear and modern renewables are used predominantly in the power sector but play a relatively small role in the total energy mix. So the most of the oil which is being imported or produced is being used in the transportation sector, so we cannot use coal or anything in that. Even trains were using the coal and it has been outdated, and now the trains are electrical or diesel driven. So natural gas also makes of a large part, small share in the energy mix, and other powers, as it's not developed so thoroughly, so they are not making a very large contribution to the energy sector. So let us now look into the sector wise comparison. So energy demand had traditionally been dominated by building sector. In building sector, a key driver of consumption, in both rural and urban areas has been rising levels of use of appliances. As a result, electricity demand in the building sector grew at an average rate of 8% per year over the 2000 to 2013 as shown. So here we can see the graph, energy demand by fuel in selected end use sectors in India. So which sector is using more power? So here we can see that the building sector is using more power, as everyone's building homes, urban cities are increasing, rural areas are also developing, and many appliances are there for the easiness of the life, gadgets, all these are using energies. So the building sector is the one of the highest consumer of energy. So then we have the industries will be having big machines to run them, so all those things. And then comes the transportation. Here we can see that transportation is given by red colors because it's consuming the energy in the form of oil. So and then comes the agricultural sector. So these are the sector wise. So this question will be asked in the exam for 8 marks, so make sure that you will find out the differences. You need not be accurate, but note down the differences. So building is high, in building green is high, that is bioenergy, and then comes the industries, and then transportation, and then finally comes the agriculture. Electricity is one of the mainly used form of energy. Country's electricity demand in 2013 was 897 terawatt hour, up from 376 terawatt hour, having risen over this period at an average annual rate of 6.9%. So electricity now constitute some 15% of the final energy consumption since 2000. So I think in the first line I have missed an year. So take that from 2000 to 2013, the energy has increased from 376 terawatts to 897 in 2013. So it now constitute, and it has increased at an annual rate 6.9%, and now it constitutes 15% of the final energy consumption. The situation, second line at the end, the situation varies from state to state, but higher tariffs paid by the commercial and industrial consumers are typically not enough to offset the losses arising from the subsidies to residential and agricultural consumers, despite efforts will raise retail rates in recent years. So here we can see that the energy consumption of electricity varies from state to states. But even though the commercial and industrial consumers are paying very high bill for the electricity, it is not balancing with the subsidies given to the residential and agricultural consumers, even though increasing the retail rates in the recent years. So on the supply side, India has some 290 gigawatts of power generation capacity, of which coal is producing 60% of electricity, makes up by far the largest share, followed by hydropower 15% and natural gas 8%. So 60% of electricity is being produced using coal sources like power plants, and then we have hydropowers like dam reservoirs are producing 15% of the energy, and then we have natural gas which is producing 8%. The mix has become gradually more diverse since 2000. Almost 40% of the change in installed capacity was non-coal. That is, since 2000, the way of producing electricity has been changed, and most of these changes are from non-coal sources. This is reflected also in the figures for power generation, which shows how many renewables are playing increasingly important role. So here you can see that the electricity generation in India by fuel. So in 90s, coal was producing the highest, and as we can see in the 2013, we can see that other renewable sources are using to produce electricity, but still the coal is the one of the source which is we are using mostly for the production of electricity. But we can see that the hydropower has been increasing each of the years. That is the hydropower source for the electricity. So note down this difference. Make note of the points, which energy is producing more electricity and which is producing less electricity, which is which source is increasing the electricity production from 90 to 2013, which source has been using for the lesser electricity production. Note on these points and just write these points by point wise in exam, so you will get a very good marks. So this question may come for 8 or 6 marks. Access to modern energy. India has made the great strides in improving access to modern energy in recent years. Since 2000, India has more than half the number of people without access to electricity and hence doubled the rural electrification rate. Nonetheless, around 240 million people or 20% of the population still remains without access to electricity. The electrification rates are already well above 90% of the total without access. The large majority live in rural areas where extending access is a greater technical and economic challenge. In urban areas, electrification rates are much higher, but the quality of the service remains very uneven. So simply, India is increasing its programs to provide access to everyone. That is the modern source of energy like electricity. So 2000 India is trying to provide electricity to all by doubling the electrification rate, but still 240 million people, that is 20% of the total population, is not getting access to electricity. The electrification rates are already well 90%, that is 90% of the people. India is trying to provide electricity for the 90% of the people among those who are not getting. So 90% of unavailable people are getting electricity now. So Indian Rural Electrification Program, the Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyut Karan Yojana, was launched in 2005 and aimed to provide electricity to villages of 100 inhabitants or more and free electricity to people below the poverty line. The effective implementation of RGGVY, that is Rajiv Gandhi, has faced several challenges and there are strong variation in the outcomes between the states. So it is one of the programs which has been introduced in order to provide electricity to the people and free electricity to those who are below poverty line. In July 2015, Rajiv Gandhi program was subsumed within a new scheme, that is Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gramin Jyoti Yojana. The main components of this scheme are the separation of distribution networks between agricultural and non-agricultural consumer to reduce the load shedding, strengthening the local transmission and distribution of infrastructure and metering. So initially Rajiv Gandhi came to provide electricity, but it was not well organized. So in 2015 it was replaced with Deen Dayal Yojana, so where the difference between agricultural and non-agricultural was made so that the people who are doing agricultural will get electricity at lower rate than those who are not doing such agricultural things or other who are capable of paying high bills. So by this we can they have made reduce the load shedding, they have strengthened the local transmission of electricity, and they made a proper distribution infrastructure, and now they have the proper metering of electricity which is being given to the people. Aside from those without electricity, India also has the largest population in the world relying on traditional use of solid biomass for cooking. The government has made a major effort to address population issues primarily through the subsidies availability of LPG as an alternative cooking fuel. So aside from those who are having electricity problem, we have most of the Indian people are relying on biomass, that is wood, for heating the water, for bathing, for cooking in villages. Most of these people are relying on those. So the main problem for the government in order to provide all the facilities is we are having a very high population. So the government is providing as many as possible LPG subsidies to the people so that they will have the access to the modern sources like LPG electricity, which are alternative cooking fuels when compared to solid biomass. So this is about access to modern energy. So here in our exam, while writing, you need not write all these stories. So here you have to note down India is doing increasing energy electrification, 20% more, all those things. 90% without access is providing access, and then we have to make sure that technical and economic challenge thing, and then we have to write two of these schemes, that is Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Yojana and Deen Dayal. We have to mention these two, and then we have to mention the difference, that is Rajiv Gandhi was providing energy to 100 inhabitants but and electricity for free, but in Deen Dayal they have differentiated between agricultural and non-agricultural things. So first from top first para we have to take two important notes, then Rajiv Gandhi and this thing, and finally we have to make a note that whatever may be the efforts of providing electricity, people are still relying on the old sources, so the government is trying to make up to that. So these are the points which we have to write. So the next topic is energy production and trade. So anything in world, it is not distributed equally within the world. So some countries will be having rich sources of coal, whereas some countries having rich sources of oil, and there will be another country which will not be having any sources of energy, but it will be having high trade. So there should be an exchange between these sources in order to maintain the country's balance. So let us look at the energy production and trade. So in coal, India has the third largest hard coal reserves in the world, that is 12% of the world total, as well as the significant deposits of lignite. Yet the deposits are generally low quality, and India faces major obstacles to the development of its coal resources. In 2013, India produced almost 340 million tons of coal equivalent, but it is also imported 140 million tons. Around 7% of national production comes from captive mining, that is largest coal consuming companies that mine for their own use. At present, more than 90% of the coal in India is produced by open cast mining. So here we can see that India is having good sources of coal, but it's not of good quality. So India is producing more coal, but it still requires more coal which is being imported. So we are the important point we have to make note that 77% of the national production comes from captive mining. That is a particular company, that is a power company which is producing power electricity, will be having their own coal mining. So the company will take the coal from its own mine and then uses it for the coal production. So thereby they will reduce the cost or the profit for the coal company, which is an external company. So open cast method, so don't mind that, it will be in other subject, that is energy engineering. We will learn what is open cast mining, but here simply write 90% of the coal in India is produced by open cast mining. So as everyone know, India is not one of the good producer of oil. We have, but not in large amount. So look at the oil and oil products. India is one of the few countries in the world that rely on imports of crude oil while also being a significant net exporter of refined products. India has relatively modest oil resources, and most of the proven resources, that is 5.7 billion barrels, are located in western part of the country, notably in Rajasthan and offshore areas near Gujarat and Maharashtra. Most of the remaining production comes from the joint ventures with the national oil and gas companies and from blocks awarded under the successive licensing. India has almost doubled its refining capacity in last 10 years and has added more than 2 million barrels per day of new capacity since 2005, with strong private sector participation, with refinery output exceeding total demand by roughly 1 million barrels per day. India is a net exporter of all refined products except LPG. So in India we are not having the crude oil, but we have the capacity to refine the crude oil. So to India we will be importing the crude oil, and from crude oil we will be producing petrol diesels, which is exported to other countries. So we have the big companies like MRPL, Mandu refineries, and then we have Reliance, which are one of the major companies which refine oil products, that is from crude they will produce petrol, all those things, that is refined oil, refined petroleum products. So in India we produce so lot that we'll be having the access of refined products which are exported to other countries, and we'll make a revenue out of it. But still we are not exporting the LPG because maybe it may be produced in less quantity also. So let us now go to the natural gas. Natural gas has a relatively small share in domestic energy mix production of conventional gas, around 34 billion cubic meters in 2013, and was supplemented by LNG imports. The majority state-owned gas company GAIL, that is here it's not GALE, it should be GAIL, one of the government company, is the largest player in which stream and downstream gas market. Sorry, in upstream and downstream gas market. So natural gas is not available in India, and still we need not care because it carries a very small amount of consumption mixture in India, so it is being imported. Factors affecting India's energy development. So it is one of the most important questions. So most probably in every exam this question is going to be asked. So let us look into it. So various factors that affect India's energy development are energy and demographics, policy and institutional framework, energy prices and affordability, social and environmental aspects, investments. So energy and demographics. India's economy has grown at an average rate of 6.5% a year, second only to China among the large emerging economies, and 2.5 times global average. India alone has accounted for over 90% of the increase in global economic output since 1990. Despite this progress, income per capita is still low, and the gap has been emerged between India and its counterparts. Service sectors has been the major driver of the growth in India's economy, accounting for about 60% of increase in GDP between 90 and 2013. The service sector employs only around one quarter of the labor force of the agricultural sector, with less than one part of the labor force. The agricultural sector, with less than 20% of the GDP, continues to account for around half of the total employment. The government has expressed its intention to rebalance the economy and announced the Make in India initiative with an intention of increasing the shares of manufacturing in GDP by 25% by 2020 and creating 100 million job in process. As I've told in the previous, developed countries use more energy. So here you can see that India's energy consumption is increasing 6.5% every year, only second to China, which means that India is developing rapidly, but still the per capita is very less. So here we can see that 60% of the energy is being used in service sectors like IT and production. So but the number of employees working in that sector is only 1/4 of the labor. But the agriculture has only 20% of the GDP, but still more people are working in agriculture. So agriculture has less GDP but more people, whereas service sector has more GDP but less people. So for this reason the per capita is still low. So the government has been making many efforts to increase the manufacturing capacity in India, so that GDP will be accounted for each and every one, and the GDP will increase by 25% in upcoming years. So which will also create a large number of job opportunities. Simply, energy and demographics is use of energy, employability, and the development of the country. Main points to write in exam are service sector, more GDP, less people; agriculture, less GDP, more people; and India is increasing but per capita is still less. India has been introduced many schemes to increase per capita in service sector, to develop service sector, to increase GDP, and to create job offers. So these are the points which you have to write. The next factor is policy and institutional framework. The direction that national and state policies take and the way and the effectiveness with which they are implemented will naturally play a critical role in India's energy outlook, and has a few policies listed such as Integrated Energy Policy 2008, National Action Plan on Climate Change, Planning Commission, which is now known as Niti Aayog. So how the energy is being managed, it will also play a very important role in countries' energy production and energy consumption. If the management is weak, then there will be loss in energy production and energy consumption also. So the key factor which affect the emerging energy visions are, that is key aspects of the emerging energy visions are simply the points which you have to keep in order for the efficient use of energy and efficient production of energy. So first point is commitment to the efficient use of all types of energy in order to meet rapidly growing demand. So we have to make use of the best use of available energy, and we have to make sure the great use of energy which is being imported. Increase in target for renewables to 175 gigawatts. So we have to find out methods to produce renewable source of energy so that we'll have a long supply of energy. A sharpened focus on achieving universal access to modern energy, including the objective of supplying round-the-clock electricity to all the India's population. So we have to make sure that we will not run out of the energy, and we will provide all-time electricity to all parts of all the peoples of society and all the industries. Reorientation of energy subsidy program. So it is the main factor that we have to reorient the subsidy programs, because we have to give those who are in need but not those who want the energy, so that we can make a proper use of energy and we can make more people to get in access with these energies. So next point is drive for market oriented solution and increase private investments, including foreign investments in energy, both through some energy specific reforms. So we have to make sure that every industry will come into the business of energy so that we can have a cooperation between the industries. Drive to simplify and deregulate the business environment. So make sure making a business in order to use less energy, making more profit. To pursue more climate friendly and cleaner path than the one followed thus far by others at a corresponding levels of economic development. Finding ways to produce energy in a more eco-friendly way and making use of the energy in a eco-friendly way. Twin energy related commitment to increase the share of non-fuel power generation capacity to 40% by 2030 and to reduce the emission intensity of economy by 33 to 35%. So here simply we are thinking of mixed technologies like solar and hydro together. So one system will be having hydro production also, solar production also, so that finally we can reduce the energy production using fossil fuels, which also helps us providing less emission and eco-friendly. So these are the key factors. In exam you have to just copy these factors. This is also one of the guarantees question which is going to come for the exam. Just note down the points and in top mention those 2-3 schemes. That's it, you will get a full marks in this question. Energy prices and affordability. The relationship between income levels, energy prices, energy expenditure is a fundamental to the evolution of India's energy system. Energy consumption increases with income. Level of consumption and the fuel choice are also affected by the location. Household expenditure on energy is on average almost 2.5 times higher than the urban centers than in urban centers than in rural areas. India has made significant moves towards the market-based pricing for energy in recent years. Gasoline in 2000 and then diesel in 2014. Prices have both been deregulated. Subsidies to oil product consumption still remains. So example, government is committed to make them more efficient through the use of Aadhaar. So here, as the quality of their life improves, the quantity of the energy consumed is also increases. So like if you get richer, we'll get an AC, fridge, all those things. So our current electricity bill will also be increased. But still, there are many factors which depends on the consumption. So even though you are a rich fellow, but you are still living in a very remote area, so there you will not be getting any electricity, so you will not be made to avail the available source of energy. So by that way we have more energy consumption rate in urban areas than in the rural areas, so since they are not have access to the available sources. So for that reason India is making many schemes, and India is also changing the price and deregulating all the subsidies, such things, in order to make the energy a great value for money. So which has been done with gasoline in 2000 and diesel in 2014. The values the rates are changing, such things. Nowadays it's changing every day. Prices has been deregulated, so but still there is a subsidy for the oil, like kerosene is given even till date. There may be change in the price, but it is given till date. So example, one more example, that the government is providing free bulbs, such as free bulb LED bulbs to the house using Aadhaar card, and many energy, even nowadays government is providing ration. We cannot consider ration, but it's providing kerosene as by considering the Aadhaar card or ration card, such that. So next, social and environmental aspects. Pollution. India is burning more fossil fuels and biomass than it has done in any past of the years, including which is producing the pollutants such as fine particulate matter, sulfur and nitrogen oxides into the air, deteriorating the quality of the air. So which is bad for the Indian society or any human beings in anywhere of the world. So here we can make note that it is given estimated that the life expectancy as a result is being reduced 3.2 years for each person living in these areas. The pollution due to the oil consumption has been increased very highly in the cities like Delhi and other places where the pollution level is too high and it is difficult for the people to live. And even the electricity and the wireless communication, all those things are producing very dangerous radiations which are harmful for the people, which can be called radiation pollution. Next part is land. So the welfare of India's rural population is closely linked to the amount of land they have available for the productive use. Land acquisition for the public and private enterprises wishing to build infrastructure from roads to railways to power plants and steel mills is therefore an issue. Legislative changes introduced in 2013 introduced stringent and procedural requirements for the land acquisition, so such that defining compensation, rehabilitation and resettlements, and they have to take the permission of the some percent of permission from the people. So in simple, the land is a main issue for the transmission of the energy. So in order to build electricity towers, electricity plants, dams, and such as mines, all those things, the land acquisition is one of the major problem, as it is owned by the people or the privates. So we have to make certain compensation, rehabilitation, all those things, and we have to take the consent of the people, so which is not easily available or made available. So we have to make many settlements in order to get those. So this is one of the major issue. So one more major issue is related to water. The high rates of population and economic growth, along with highly inefficient pattern of water use in agricultural sector, are putting severe strain on India's water resources. Around 90% of India's water withdrawal is for the use in agriculture and livestock, often extracted by tubewells powered from grid and drawing from groundwater reserves. Subsidies, electricity tariffs for agricultural users, and lack of metering have led to the hugely inefficient consumption of both electricity and water. So the people are nowadays digging bore wells and all those things, and for that bore wells the government is providing subsidies for the electricity and all those things, but still the people are misusing. They are not making the proper use of all the facilities available for them. They are making the simply waste of bores. They are wasting the water simply for providing the house uses or other reasons. There are people who are misusing the government subsidies given for the agricultural agricultural work for their personal work, and there are people misusing the subsidized electricity which is given to the agriculture for their personal and industrial uses. So this has to be efficiently carried out and properly managed in order to make an efficient use of energy. So next part is the investment. So investment should be the first part of everything. So for any development we should have an investment. Since 2000, investments in energy supply in India has been increased substantially, reaching almost $77 billion on average since 2010, with power sector absorbing the largest share. India's government aims to increase investment in infrastructure to 8.2%, that is power infrastructures, which is 8.2% of the GDP, which has been increased from 7.2% in 2007 and 11. So 2014 saw a significant increase in FDI inflows, which rose by 22% as compared to the previous year. So India is investing more in the energy sector to provide all its people and citizens with a proper useful energy, so thereby taking our country from developing country to a developed country. I hope I have explained all the points clearly. Make a note of the questions which I have told important and which is going to come in the exam. So if you have any doubts, mention it in the comment section, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and support me. Like the video if you like this video. So this is all for this video. In next video we'll be going to module 2, which is energy systems and its analysis. So see you everyone in the next video. Till then, thank you. Please share, like and subscribe. See you guys in next video.